Hey everybody, this is Joe here today with a demo tutorial video on the GV Cloud Access Control solution. In today's video, I would like to focus on a basic setup of the GV-AS1620, which is GeoVision's one-door control panel that has direct-to-cloud connectivity. Before I get into today's video, if you find the content on this channel useful, please subscribe to the channel and also give the video a thumbs up. It really does help with the exposure of these videos to other users. And then also, just as a side note, if you are a security integrator, please feel free to share these videos with your end users. Some of these videos are end user focused, and it can be very helpful to just be able to share these videos to an end user and walk them through how to do certain things. Today's video is more of an installer related video. But again, I'd like to focus on a basic setup of the GV-AS1620. This is a control panel that can be used either with GeoVision's on-premise AS Manager software, if you want to do a non-cloud solution, or in a cloud-based application, it has direct-to-cloud capabilities, where as you see at the top of the screen here, the architecture would just be the control panel connected to a PoE switch and then plugged into the network. And that will allow you to point to your cloud access control and be able to manage that through a web browser as well as through the mobile app. Now, please note that with the GV Cloud Access Control solution, it is not free. There is a subscription that is required. That's going to be either a monthly or a yearly license fee that is paid to GeoVision. And you can contact us to obtain pricing and arrangements on how to purchase those licenses. So I would like to just jump right in and talk about how we can actually do the setup of the AS1620 to the cloud. Now, the first thing that you'll want to do is open up the GeoVision IP device utility. This is a free download that you can obtain from our website, and it really helps you with discovering devices on your network, setting IP addresses, updating firmware, and also setting passwords for cameras or access control devices for that matter. If you do not already have the IP device utility, you can go to GeoVision's download page. And then right over here on the left, the easiest way to find it is to go to Video Management Software, VMS, tick the VMS 17 box, and then you'll see it right in here, the GV IP device utility. You can just download that right there. Once you have the IP device utility, go ahead and open it up. And if you don't already see your devices here, you can hit the scan button. It looks like a magnifying glass right up here in the top left. And you'll see your access control panel. Now, since you are plugging this panel into a PoE switch and then into the network, it will DHCP and provide a IP address to the panel automatically. You will not have to set a static IP address. You are able to do that if you would like, but it is not necessary. Now, one of the very first things that we will need to do with the control panel is set a password, and then we also need to get the firmware updated for the device. The AS1620 has two different firmwares, one for the on-premise software, AS Manager, and then one for cloud. So we'll go ahead and get that firmware from our website. Again, we're going to go back to the download page. Over on the left, we're just going to type in GV-AS1620. And then it'll give all of our results over here on the right for downloads that are relevant for this product. Here toward the top, you'll see firmware GV-AS1620 1.14. This is not the firmware that we want in this scenario. As you can see in parentheses, this says for GV-AS Manager. What we actually want is down at the bottom of the tab, firmware right here for GV Cloud. So you would just hit download and then just put that, say, on your desktop. And you will want to go ahead and extract that folder. So it's ready to where you can navigate to the bin file inside of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to first go back here to our IP device utility. We are going to left click on the IP address and hit web page. And you'll get to this section right here. And what you'll want to do is just go ahead and type in the default ID, which is admin, all lowercase. And then you do need to set a password. And if you see toward the top, it does give you in red the parameters of what your password has to be. So it has to be 8 characters. You have to have uppercase letters, lowercase, digits, and then a special character that is shown in parentheses here. So you can only use what's shown. It cannot be like an @ sign or a $sign or those kinds of things. Just make sure that you choose one from this section. Once you hit submit, it's going to go ahead and assign that password, and then it wants you to log in with the new password that you have created. So we have now changed the password for this device. Our next step, there's a couple of things that we'll want to do in here. One is to make sure that we have the time and date set properly. And then two, we'll want to go ahead and get the firmware updated so it can support a cloud application. So right here, firmware update, if we go ahead and hit that, I have the firmware on my desktop. It's already extracted and ready to go. So what we're going to do is right here where it says select firmware, choose file. We will click on that. And then we'll go ahead and open up our folder for our firmware. And there is the .bin file that we're looking for. That is our firmware. We hit open and upload. And what you want to make sure is you don't want to close this page or navigate away from it. You don't want to unplug your control panel or disrupt your network in any way, because that can really damage the device. It could potentially even brick the control panel. So just do keep this as a steady connection. You'll see your update right there where it'll say 100%, and then you'll get a message right there that says success. And then it will go through a reboot phase, which it is doing right now. So this might take a minute or so for the reboot to complete. And the way that I like to check to ensure that the reboot is finished up and you can continue on is come back into your IP device utility and then just hit the search button right here. First couple times that you hit it, the control panel most likely will not be back. So just kind of stand by or continue to hit it a couple times and you'll eventually see that control panel come back. So now our control panel is back. If I'd like, I can go ahead and hit web page. And again, it will bring me here to the landing page. If you do ever run into this screen, just go ahead and hit advanced and proceed. And it might prompt you to go ahead and type in your ID and password again. If so, go ahead and do it. We now have our firmware updated to where we are cloud ready. And you'll want to go into time configuration over on the left. And we want to go ahead and set the time to be the correct time. So we can go ahead and hit setup right here under local time, setup, and then hit current local time. And then you'll also want to enable daylight savings time right here. And you'll want to go ahead and make sure that you're choosing the correct parameter. So it should be the second Sunday of March. And then right here on November, it should be the first Sunday of November. For hour, you want to make sure it's the 2 a.m. hour. So just choose 2 right there. Hit submit. And now you'll see an update at the top where it shows the correct time, just depending on your Windows time or wherever you're located. So you do want to get your time set. That is imperative. And after that, we can move on to our next step, which would be to coming into the cloud web page, the GV Cloud website. And we're going to do a little bit of pre-setup and then get the control panel added into our cloud account. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is creating a region for this controller to reside in. And you might ask, what is a region? So it depends on how this is set up. If a security integrator is going to set this up in their email address and they're going to add in all of their end users so they can centrally view all of their end users, it would be a good idea to create the regions as the names of the customers. Because for a security integrator, if you want to be able to centrally manage all of your accounts, this is an easy way to do so within the GV Cloud website. If you are an end user and everything is going to be made in your own email address, what you could consider doing is to create regions that are based on the name of your location. For example, if you are an end user that has 10 facilities, each of which are going to be added into GV Cloud, and maybe each of those facilities is in a different city, you could create a region based on the name of that city. So Indianapolis, New York, Chicago, whatever cities you want to use or whatever names of your facilities, that's how I'd recommend creating your regions. Now, to get to this section, when you're in the GV Cloud website, top left-hand corner, you can click on the GeoVision logo and then go to Account Management. You'll land at this screen right here, where there are 2 buttons on the left, Users and Regions. So we'll go ahead and click on Regions, and then top right-hand corner, Add Region. We're going to go ahead and create a new region. I'll just call this Test Region, and then hit Send. So our new region has been created. You can see it here on the list. We will utilize this a little bit later in the video. Our next step is going to be to add in your cloud license and get it ready and available for when you add your control panel into your GV Cloud account. Now, the cloud license again would be purchased from GeoVision. And what would happen is once that is purchased, we would email a serial key. It is a string of alphanumeric characters, and that will get emailed to the security installer that purchased the license, and then it can be added here into the GV Cloud account. The section of where you add in the serial key is down here in the bottom left. You'll see either a little man icon, like a person's head, or if you've uploaded your picture to your profile, it'll display that picture right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that and hit account settings. And then right here, you'll want to look on the left for the icon that looks like a shopping cart. And when you hover over, it says subscription. Once you do that, right here it says add serial, you're going to go ahead and just paste in that string of alphanumeric characters. Again, that is your serial key for your cloud access control license. And then you'll hit verify. Now, once you hit verify, it brings up this screen right here where you can click on it and you can assign it to a door. Or since we have not added in our control panel yet, I'm just going to hit skip for now. And then that license will be there and ready for us when we want to add it and license that door later on. So our next step is we're going to start adding the control panel in to the region that we just created. So to do that, top left-hand corner, we have the GV Cloud Apps button with the GeoVision icon. This is kind of where you navigate to everything within the GV Cloud website. If you want to flip between your cloud VMS for the video side and then the access control, you can tab between them right here. So we're going to go into access control. And if you're starting a brand new setup, this is going to be completely blank. You're not going to have anything in this monitoring tab. And there's actually even going to be, I believe, if I remember correctly, a section where you can click to add devices. But since this is our office, it's already got some control panels and devices listed out. So as you can see, we have some activity here. Now, what you can do is you can come over here to region/device. And if you'll notice, here is the test region that we created earlier. I can go ahead and click on that. And it's blank right now because we have not added any devices to it. So what I can do is I can go ahead and hit add device. And this is where we're going to add in our controllers. So what you can do here is you'll want to either click on the drop down of right here and choose AS Bridge or the AS1620 or the Cloud Bridge Pro. The Cloud Bridge Pro is a rather new device that actually will support cameras as well as access control panels. And then the IA1330, that is a new door station intercom unit that is direct to cloud that we will be releasing soon. For today's video, we are adding the GV-AS1620. So we want to go ahead and click on that and make sure that we have chosen the correct one. Now, what you can do next, if you want, is you can name the controller. I'll just call this test controller. And then right here, you can hit search. And it will scan the network, and it'll typically find your controller. If it doesn't, there is actually a way that you can manually add in that controller. And you'll need the MAC address as well as the password of the controller. So to obtain our MAC address, we can come right back here to the IP device utility. And if needed, if you can look over here, it's going to show you your MAC address right there. So we're just going to note down that MAC. And I'm going to paste it in right there, as well as enter the password that I created for that control panel. Now, you'll want to make sure that you have chosen the correct time zone for your location, and then also make sure that the DST is set properly. Once you do that, you can go ahead and tick which doors you want to be active. Now, since this is a one-door controller, we can have two readers. One would be an entry reader, and then one would be designated as an exit reader. So if we can go ahead and tick the toggle switch right there for the entry, and we're just going to use one reader today. If you want, you can name that reader. I'll call this front door. Now, on this screen, you have a few different options that you can enable and make changes to. For example, your lock reset time. If you want the lock to reset after the default 5 seconds, that's fine. If you want to extend it a little bit further, maybe you make it 8 seconds or 10 seconds. You can actually program that right here. And then held open time as well. This is like the number of seconds that it would trigger a notification if the door was held open for longer than that many seconds. Authentication schedule, if you click the drop down and expand this right here, this is where you can actually set the door to automatically unlock and relock at certain times of the day. So release mode right here would be the option that you would choose to do that, or release by card mode. Now, there are differences here between them. Release mode basically is saying that, for example, 8 o'clock to 1700 hours. I'm going to highlight that time frame. When 8 o'clock occurs, that door will automatically unlock, and then it will relock at 1700, no matter what. This one right here, release by card mode, takes it a step further. This makes it to where if 8 o'clock happens and an employee has not shown up yet for the day at maybe say 7:50 or 7:45 and swiped their card, that door will remain locked until the first person swipes their card to gain entry for the day. So if you're concerned about maybe your front door being held open to the general public and coming in and an employee not showing up on time, the release by card mode would be a good option for you to help prevent against that. So let's say, for example, we're going to do release by card mode. We're going to make it 7 a.m. through 1800. We'll just highlight there. And now, as you can see in yellow, we are in the release by card mode during that time frame. And now you'll want to choose what days of the week you want this schedule to apply to. So I'm on Sunday right now. Let's say I want to use that for multiple days of the week. Maybe I just want to do that for the weekends. And then Monday through Friday, for example, it's going to remain locked all the time. And an employee's card has to be swiped for the door to unlock. So obviously it's going to change just depending on what your scenario is for your facility. But just know that authentication schedule does give you the option to release that door automatically and then relock it at certain times of the day. Now, if you come down here further, you do have some other options that you can look at. So by default, card is enabled, meaning that you have to present a card to the reader to gain access. You do also have the ability to enable PIN code mode, so card plus PIN code. So if you wanted to do a dual factor authentication type of scenario, you have the ability to choose that right there. So we're going to go ahead and we'll hit save here, and then it'll say save successful. We'll hit close. Now, we have not licensed this door yet. As you can see here, we have invalid license. This will not work yet. The control panel is not active yet, so we do need to go ahead and apply our license to this door. And again, we can do that by coming back here down where we were at earlier. We click on the bottom left-hand corner that's going to have your username and either your photo or just a generic picture of a person's head. And then right here, you can click Account Settings, go back to your subscriptions. And I recommend clicking on Access Control because obviously that's what we're working on. And then what you'll want to do is find your license. You'll have your order number here, and it gives you some dates here that tell you, when this was purchased and, when it was enabled and when it expires and those kinds of things. So this one right here is the license that we need to apply. It was just a one-door license that I had set up for demo purposes. I'll go ahead and click License Doors, and you'll want to look in here for your devices. All right, so we'll scroll down, Test Controller right there. That's our controller that we have. Now, obviously, since it is just a one-door controller, we only have one door listed below it. But let's say that you added the four-door control panel. You would see all four of those doors, and you would need a license for all four of them if you do want to use all four of them. So what we're going to do is we're obviously just going to put a tick mark next to the one that we have there and hit Save. And then it has applied our license. So we can now come back to Access Control. And in the monitoring screen, this is kind of your home screen where you can see all of your devices and all of your regions. Especially convenient if you are a multi-site customer because you're going to have all of your sites, aka regions, listed out here. Now, right here, as you can see, we have our control panel. The last thing that I do actually need to do is I need to assign the control panel to this GV Cloud account. You will need to know your account number for that. And again, you can obtain it by going back down here to the bottom left-hand corner, clicking on Account Setting, and there is your account ID. We will now navigate back to the web page of the control panel itself. and we need to paste in that GV Cloud account so it knows where to point the cloud control panel. So to do that, we're going to navigate over to security configuration here. And right here under cloud access account, we're going to go ahead and paste in that account number. And once we type in the account ID, you're just going to hit submit. And it will associate your control panel with your cloud account. We can come back here to the web page, and now we see a green dot that's showing that it is connecting. And now our control panel is connected. As you can see here, we have the ability to click to lock the door if we want, or if we click the ellipses button, we have a drop down that gives us some more options. Let's say, for example, we want to temporarily unlock the door. We can do that, and it shows our event right there. Now you can see it's in an unlocked state for that 5 seconds that we have set. Or let's say, for example, we want to do a force unlock and have that door remain in an unlocked state. We can do that right there. Again, we get our message, and now you can see even after 5 seconds, we are remaining in the force unlock state. We can clear that event if we want by clicking the ellipses and going release door operation. That'll put it back in a locked state, unless, of course, you've already used your authentication schedule and you have that door set to unlock during certain times of the day. Now, we have added in a controller to the cloud. I want to just show how to do some additional features within the cloud, such as swipe a card, add a user, assign a schedule to that user, those kinds of things. So I have a couple different cards here, and I'm going to just go ahead and swipe them on the reader. There you can see invalid card for that one. I'll go ahead and swipe a key fob, and now I have invalid card for that one as well. There are a couple different ways that you can assign a card or a key fob to a user. And one would be just to click on the event of that invalid card. And right here, you can click on Add Access Key. If I click that, I have two options: add to a new user or add to an existing user. So I'm going to do both scenarios here. I already have a profile in this account, which has my name, my picture. I have another card associated with myself. So I'm going to do this first one to where it is associated to my existing profile. And then I'll do the other one where I'm going to associate it with a new profile. So to just start from scratch here and make sure that I'm doing the correct one, I'll swipe my card again. And right there is that event. Let's go in and assign this to my existing user profile. So we'll click on that. And what you'll want to do is just locate your name. There I am right there. Hit OK. And you'll see here, I already have a couple cards that are assigned to me right there. And this is the new one. Now, down below, a couple things that you can do in here: activation date and deactivation date. Let's say, for example, you have a temporary employee who's going to work for your company for maybe 1 month. What you can do is you can actually go in and select a certain day of the week that you want that to start and to be active. And then you can even select a time frame right there. And then over on the right, deactivation date. Maybe we're going to make this card valid through the end of June, June 30th. So I'll go ahead and select my activation and deactivation date. And then right here, access rules would be your next step. An access rule is a schedule for when that person's card would work at the reader. Now, if access rules have already been programmed, you can just click the drop down and you'll see a list of all of the rules that are here. Now, please note that these rules are specific to certain regions. Now, this again comes into play for a multi-site customer, because maybe you are a customer that has 3 locations and you want to give manager A the ability to go to all 3 locations with one card. You will need to create access rules for each of those different regions, and then you'll need to assign your access rule to that card, to that person for each of those regions. So for the new region that we created, I have not set up an access rule yet. But for my other regions that are here in the system, I have. So let's say, for example, we want to give me a rule for these locations that are already here, for these regions that are here. But then for my new region that we created, we want to create a fresh access rule. What you can do is right over here on the right, we can click the plus sign. And right here under region, we'll just want to make sure that we are on the test region that I created. And you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to call this employee schedule. And then you'll want to make sure you tick whatever door or doors you want this person's schedule to be valid for. Now, you've got a couple options. We have conveniently put this work time schedule in here, which would be like a common time frame that most employees would get access to a traditional building. 8 to 5 is your typical worker's time frame. So if that applies to you, go ahead and click on the check mark, and then it's just going to apply that Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 schedule right there. If you want, you can clear it by hitting all denied. All granted means giving that person 24-hour access. So those are just a couple shortcuts that you can use to apply. But let's say that you want to create a custom time zone. What you can do is right here on the timeline, just put your mouse, click and drag. Make sure you're holding, of course. I'm going to do 7 a.m. to 1700. And I'm going to copy and paste right over here to the right. You can just copy and paste to your various days of the week that you want them to have access. So let's say that I'm going to give them 7 days plus holidays. You do have the ability even here on holidays to extend it if you want. Or let's say on holidays you don't want them to have any access. You can delete their access for that day as well. So once you get this set how you like it, you go ahead and hit save. And then right here, it's going to actually add that new schedule. So if we click the drop down under our test region, employee schedule, it is right there. All right, so as you can see, you can add multiple access rules from various regions to the same user's card, and that gives them the ability to go from site to site to site, carrying one card, but still have access to multiple facilities. All right, so we've created this one right here. I'll go ahead and hit save, and you'll see the message save successful. I'll go ahead and hit close. Now, what I like to do is hit sync all devices and make sure you have your check mark there on your controller. Hit sync. And it'll run through here a minute. You'll see it's where it says syncing. And now I'm able to present my card and I get a access granted showing that my card is now valid. Now, another option, we'll take my second credential here. I have a key fob and I'll go ahead and swipe it. And as you can see, invalid card, just like we had last time. I'll go ahead and click on that and hit add access key. This time we're going to do a new user. And so right here, you'll just fill out the information at the top. So I'll call this one Joey Leonard, just to differentiate here a little bit. Now you can get very detailed with this if you want. You can put in say an employee ID number. You can put in their email, their phone number, division, department, job title. All of this kind of information is completely optional. You can go as far as you want with it. You can also click right here and navigate within Windows to upload a headshot of that person if you'd like. Totally optional, but some people do like to do that. And then we're going to do the same thing down below. If we want, we can choose activation and deactivation date, or we can just go ahead and leave that blank, and then that card will just work indefinitely. And then lastly here on access rule, again, we're going to choose a few different ones for this user, but we're also going to create a new one. And we're going to, again, make sure that we're on the test region. For this one, I'm just going to use the default 8 a.m. to 1700 and make sure that we choose the door we want it to apply to. Hit save. We're going to go ahead and make sure that we hit save on this. Close. We'll go ahead and sync our controller. We'll see right here our sync status showing syncing right now. And now I can present my card to the reader and I have a access granted message right there. So we have now added in a couple users as well as assigned a couple credentials to these users. And of course, that was after we created our region and then added our controller to the region. A few other things here within the cloud just to navigate through some of the side menus here. So user list, if you do want to go in and just manually add in a user, you can, of course, do it in here. You can also delete users out of the list as well. So if we click on add user, this is the same screen we were just in, and then we would click the plus, and then we would create our card number and all that. Or you do have the ability to import users. So if you have the need to do a bulk import, maybe you've got 100 employees at your facility and you don't want to manually import them, you actually have the ability right here to import. Now, what I would advise doing is adding in one user first and then doing an export. That will give you a template of how we want the data to appear on that Excel document. And once you have all of your users on that newly formatted Excel document, you can come in here and just import it. So you'd hit select file, you'd find it within Windows, and then it will map all of the correct data as we want it to appear in the Cloud Access Control website here. As a side note, if you purchase GeoVision cards from GeoVision, you can also get a Excel document from us that'll have all the card numbers that allows you to do one mass import as well. Now, there's a couple other things that you can do in here in the user list. One, of course, would be to delete a user. If we click the tick mark, you actually have the ability to then, click on that user. And at the top, you can hit the delete, and you have the ability to delete that user out if you don't want them in the facility anymore, or you want to delete their access. You also have the ability to create a badge for that user. So let's say, for example, that you want to print a badge on the user's access control card. There is now a template form here where you can go in and you can click and create badge templates. I have a separate video on that. But once you create your badge template, you can select your user and you can hit print, and you can directly print that badge out to your printer. Access/event log over on the left. This is where you can run a report, and you actually have the ability to export that report. So there's a few different things that you can choose from here in the search field. First off being what kinds of events you want to appear here in the report. So let's say invalid cards and invalid schedules. And then you can choose what date and time frame you want that report to be ran. So as you can see, I chose 5/20 through 5/27. You can even choose the times of the day right over here. If you hit select doors, if you leave it blank, it'll search across everything. Or if you want to just search across individual doors or individual sites, you can just simply click on those, and then it would search across those sites. Down below, you can also type in a user that you're interested in searching by. Authentication factors, if you want it to be just a card, that would show up in the search. So obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of different criteria that you can search by here. And then once you have your criteria set, you hit search, and it will give you a list of all the results. Now, if you are ready to export that as a report, you can hit export, and you have the option to choose either Excel or PDF. And I will say that if you choose the PDF option and you have purchased the GV Cloud Access Control license that includes a video snapshot, like if you have a camera looking at your door, you can integrate it with your reader and it'll take snapshots and put those snapshots on that report. So you do have the ability to do that. Otherwise, if you bought just the text-only plan, which is what I have, as you can see, there's no snapshot there. You're just going to see a list of the text events of what door it was, card number, user, what time, those kinds of things are going to show up right here on the report. Now, a couple other things here on the cloud website, just since we're here, under alerts, you have the ability to create notifications when certain things happen. So if we click on the alerts tab on the left, we can create a new alert just by clicking the plus sign. We can name that right here. We'll call this test alert. You can choose what times of the day and what days of the week these alerts are going to be triggered. So let's say, for example, just Monday through Friday, and maybe we want to make this, we'll do 1600 through 2400. You can also choose what messages would trigger the alerts. So for example, I want to know about any invalid schedule activity, and I want to know across all my doors, and then I want to choose certain users. Let's say, for example, this person, Alex, is somebody that we let go from our organization, and we want to know if they come back and try to use their card now in an invalid schedule scenario. So we can choose that, or you can, of course, select multiple users if you would like, just by simply clicking the tick mark next to them. Once you do that, over on the right, you have a couple different ways that you can get alerted. One is send email alert, and then also push notification. You can also mail to triggered user if you've registered their email address. But if we get rid of that, now it's just going to allow you to choose who you're sending that to. So you type in the email address of who you want to get the alert. You can also CC and BCC people. And then lastly, on push notifications, you would have to have a GV Cloud account or operator account set up here within this, and I'll show that in a moment, to have your name on this list. But you have the ability to choose a person or even multiple people that can receive a push notification to the GV Cloud mobile app. Of course, once you enable your alert, you want to hit save, and then that would start sending those alerts during the time periods that you have set. Over on the left, access rule, this would be our next tab. So this is where you can just manually go in and create new access rules. And as you can see, all of your regions are going to be listed on the left. If you want to create a new one, just click the plus sign, make sure that you have selected the correct region that you want to create it under. And then we'll call this test 2. And of course, you choose what door, and then we do the same process that we went through earlier. So you can manually create your access rules here as needed, and just of course make sure we hit save, and then that would be active moving forward. Special days. This is where you can set up holidays and certain days of the year that you want select things to happen on those days. So you can actually go in and hit add special day. There's a very high number of days that you can create. Actually, I don't think there's a limit at the moment, but I'll call this test special day. And once we do that, you can select what days of the year are going to be your special days. And then back on your access rules, you'd actually have the ability to assign schedules to those special days. So if we come back to access rules, and then right here, special day time zone, of course, you'll want to make sure that you are on your appropriate region. So I'll go back to my test region, new access rule. And for this one, I'm going to apply add special day time zone. And right here, test special day is the one that we created. And again, you can create a custom time zone that that person would get access on that special day. And again, that special day was a certain calendar day of the year that you designated on the special days tab. Okay, so we'd hit save there, and then that would go into effect. Operator privileges. This is where you can actually set up who can administer things. So if you want to set up different users to be able to create new users or unlock doors or receive the notifications, you would come to the operator privileges tab. And what you do here is you click on add operator, and it brings you to the account management page. As you can see, we have many accounts that we've already created here for various operators. But to make a new one, you hit create user, and you'd have the ability to just type in the information or the name of the user right here. You type in their email address, and optionally, you can put their phone number. Once you hit send, it's going to put that user's name on the list, as you can see right here. And it'll have a little little yellow triangle with an exclamation point on it. That means that that user is not yet verified. What will happen is the user will receive an email that they will need to open up on a PC and click a verification link. Once they click that link, they will then get a green check mark next to their name, and that means that their email address is now valid and ready to use in the cloud. And once that happens, you can come back here to the operator privileges tab, and you'd have the ability to click on that user, and then all of your regions will be listed out over here. So if we look under our test region, let's say, for example, we want to give this person, Jonathan, the ability to read, write, and execute for the employee schedule, or maybe the new access rule schedule, or even the test 2 that I just created. You have the ability to check that, or as you can see here, the top one next to just the region name will give them the ability to do everything. Now, there are some differences here, read, write, and execute. Read means they have the ability to look at data, so they can see user data, they can see reports, those kinds of things. Write would mean that they have the ability to create new users and change schedules. And then execute means that they have the ability to lock and unlock doors. So let's say, for example, you want to give a mid-level employee, like a mid-level manager, the ability to create new users and look at data and run reports within GV Cloud Access Control, but you don't necessarily want to give them the ability to remotely lock and unlock doors. So you have the ability to really customize what that user can do, and you can customize on a per region basis. So again, we'll go back to a multi-site environment example. Let's say that you are an end user that has 10 locations and you're the CEO. You want the ability to make changes to every single site. you would obviously get access to every single site here. Every site would have a tick mark next to it, and you'd get full privileges for everything. If you're maybe a mid-level manager or a regional manager that just gets the ability to change your site's information or your region's information, then you would probably be set up just to where you can edit that region alone. So there is a big hierarchy here of how you can program and customize the GV Cloud Access Control page. And then lastly, just to point out, we do have a lockdown feature here. So this obviously is used in emergency scenarios, and it gives you the ability to do a quick lockdown of either multiple sites or just one individual region. So if I click on test region, the one that we just set up, and hit lockdown, now, as I can see, I get a message here that shows who performed the lockdown, what time it happened. Over on the left, it shows in red that I'm in lockdown. And then if we scroll down to that region, it also shows that in red, as well as a red lock icon there. So we know that we're in lockdown. Obviously, as I showed on the previous screen, you can lock down multiple regions if you need to. And then when we want to release the lockdown, we can just click lockdown and hit release. And now it puts us back in our normal operating state. This has been an overview tutorial on how to add the GV-AS1620 controller to GV Cloud Access Control, as well as just a general overview of the daily use of this access control solution. For further information on our product line, please check us out at www.geovision.com.tw/US. Thanks a lot for watching.